Hey, how's it going? I am going to quickly explain why the common approach to list building for business growth just doesn't work in 2024, and it's a complete waste of your time. And then I'm going to show you a better way to grow your business in 2024. So this has always been outlined as the best way to grow your business, right? Still, gurus today are like, oh, this is the best way. All you need to do is grow your list, grow your list, grow your list. Get 3 people or get people on your email list. The fact is those people are, if you actually look what they're doing, they're not doing that. They're selling products. They're not just growing their list. But anyway, these numbers below here, these are the average conversion rates pulled from various studies and stats. So if you can drive 100,000 people to a sales page for a free lead magnet, 20% of them are going to opt in. You end up with 20,000 leads. 36% of them are going to open the emails that you send, 7,200. 1.4% of those will click. That's 100 people. 10% of them will purchase. That's 10 customers. There was a time when 2 things were different, and this was a valid model. I've been in this game 11 years. When I first started doing it, this was a completely valid way to do it. And you just wanted to pump this number here because that would be an increase in revenue. There was a time when you could drive traffic, right? So you get 100,000 people, and this conversion rate for a lead magnet might be 50 or 60%. We'll go 50, right? 50%. Average open rates were, for these leads, 40 to 60%, depending on how good you were at email marketing. We even went with 40 here. The CTR was 20, 30% you could get. Might be a bit high. Let's go back down to 10 for that, but still. And then the people who were on the sales page, their sales, depending on how good the sales page was, 30% of people would buy, right? Already, that gives you a shit ton more people that are coming through here for purchases. And at that same time, ad traffic was cheap. You could get a cost per click on, say, Meta ads for like 10 cents. Right? So even if you were only getting 10 purchases, it would probably cover the cost of that, depending on what you were selling, right? It just doesn't work that way anymore. Now you're looking at the average cost per click is around $3 for ads. Some people get better, some people get worse, but on average you're looking at about $3. So in this case, that would be $300,000 to get around 10 sales, which is insane. It just doesn't work. So what's the better way? Because this obviously doesn't work. Despite all of those gurus saying just grow your list, offer a free lead magnet, pay to get it out there in front of people, all of this stuff. You end up growing with a list of freebie seekers who are takers, as I call them. And they're searching for information that for them is nice to have. They don't need to have it because, we've all done it. You see an ad or something. It's like, oh, get this ebook on how to do ABC. And you're like, I don't need to know that right now, but maybe I'll get it. It's cool. And they start emailing you and you think, I'm not interested. You basically take this bit, the purchases section, the sales, and you move it right up to the front and you drive traffic here. Loads of different names for this. You've got like a self-liquidating offer, a low-cost front-end thing, whatever you want to call it. But this does 2 things really, really well for your business. The first thing that you have to realize is that when you take this old method of driving traffic, leads, open rate, CTR, all this whole thing, it's a long time. It takes you a while to make back that money. It wasn't such a problem when clicks were so cheap because you could sell products for a reasonable price, drive enough traffic to it, and because it was so cheap to drive that traffic, you could make do. But now you can't afford to wait that time. If you are going to spend 300 grand to drive that traffic, how long could you last and keep your business afloat before you can afford to make that return? Most people can't last long with that kind of a spend. What this does is by putting the purchases way up front is, so you drive traffic here, they come through, they have purchase, the people who buy, that money goes back in to drive more, and that's a self-liquidating front-end offer, which is going to help scale as more sales come in. You can up the ad spend and all that sort of lovely stuff. Payback period is essentially much shorter, giving you more freedom to put more money to grow the reach. In addition to that, you cut out the people who think the information is nice to have. It's really hard to sell to people who would just want freebies and just think the information is nice to have and maybe one day they'll need it. By gating that offer, that content, that initial action behind a paywall, and I've found this to be true even with like a $1 paywall, you cut out the people who think it's nice to have, and you start attracting people who believe that that information and that solution is a need to have. In essence, they experience the pain that you're solving so severely that they will pay to remove it. That leads to, one, a much smaller list. You might only have 2,000 people here, which is beneficial for a couple of reasons. One, you don't have to pay to maintain a list of 20,000 people, but 2,000 people who have a problem that they're willing to pay to remove, which means they're going to be way more engaged. So all of these metrics then go up because they desperately want to solve that problem. And because they're currently experiencing the pain to such a degree that they're willing to open their wallet, upsells and pushing your higher ticket items and other offers and things to help make that solution faster, easier, cheaper are much easier to sell to them. You don't have to turn somebody from a freebie seeker into a paid customer. It's a paid customer into somebody else who's going to pay you more money. It's a much, much, much easier job for you. So essentially what I'm trying to say is this whole thing, this whole idea that people are still pushing today of saying, oh, hey, just offer some free stuff out there and run ads to a freebie lead magnet. It just doesn't work that well anymore. You end up with a list of people who are not that engaged, who won't buy from you, and yet you've got to pay to maintain that list. You've paid to build it, and then you've got to pay to maintain a list that's not paying you back. By pushing the purchase up to the front, you start to attract high engagement people who have a real problem and are willing to pay to solve it, which pays you back faster. It's easier and cheaper to maintain as a list because it's smaller, but they're way, way, way more engaged. Payback loops are much, much shorter, and you basically have a much more stress-free life. This is what you should be doing. If you want help on that, I've put a whole program together about how I launch products at a single dollar and how I turn that into sort of, multiple thousands of dollars just on cold launches to new audiences. It's called the $1 Product Challenge. It runs you through everything you need to know from identifying products all the way through to setting up the system so that you can turn a $1 product into potentially up to like a $400 purchase. Check it out. It's below this video. Any questions, let me know.